Psychotoons video.
Call me Mr. Do. I am consciousness. I lived in a dark, dingy tower. Just my pets and me. I was trapped inside. I lived on a platform, overlooking a water-filled floor. I could not leave. I was totally dependent on my pets. There were two small portholes on one side, a vent on either side of them, and a hole in the floor that led to the dungeon below. My pet ant and pet bee would fly outside through the portholes and look around. They would then come back to me and paint what they seen and mimic the sounds that they heard through the vents. This is how I seen the world, people, landscapes, the sunset. It was not as detailed and complete as the real world, but workable. Every time I moved, the view would change. If I hollered and thrashed around, the view of others outside showed them covering their ears and covering themselves. This gave me a sense of sinister power over the outside world. But I was lonely. I could affect others outside, but I was never part of their world. I was trapped and chained to loneliness. Then the bewitching hour came, midnight. This time they painted a kid-sized monster. A hideous long-nosed wart face with a sack. I wondered if it were full of dead bodies. The eyes were big and open. Behind their eyes, I could see another dark, dingy room like mine, with another Mr. Do as puzzled as me, in his tower with voices coming from it, unknown utterances. I was so desperate for a friend that perhaps this was my chance to make contact with another Mr. Do. A voice began to vibrate and shake us. Trick or treat! Joe Scaredy Cat went berserk. Turtle withdrew into his shell, and Rabbit Energy jumped up and down with Macho. With all the excitement, the hole to the dungeon was now unguarded. Spidey, the dark deceptive widget in the dungeon below, shot up a web to blind Ant and Bee, filling our space with cobwebs. Raccoon, the greedy widget below in the dungeon, shot up a sword that nearly missed Macho Scaredy Cat. Macho jumped way out of the way and started to run in circles. Rabbit, too, started to run frantically in circles, with Macho at such a speed that they created a whirlwind. I began to thrash in horror as Turtle, Cuddles, Ant, Bee flew off from the great whirl of wind and disappeared. Greedy Raccoon shot up through the hole in the floor from the dungeon below, jumped around yelling,
Take all the treats in his sack.
Crow, flying behind him, began to argue with Guru, my logical widget, who was saying,
Give him a treat.
But Crow just yelled,
Treat is only part of a trick to rob us all.
The widget coyote, like a gargoyle, jumped up from below and stalked around the room of ghostly cobwebs and wild wind. He yelled,
Take the treats in this sack and smash them. Cause havoc and chaos. Whoop it up.
I was miserable and passing out. This is the signal, the dreaded signal for my arch enemy, my alter ego dragon to enter from the depths below. Up he flew in a frenzy like a witch on a broom. He swirled through the room looking for evil, shooting his flames of fire, looking for me to attack. I was hysterical, blind, fearful, confused, and helpless. Ant and Bee, Cuddles, and Turtle were outside the tower, trying to get back in. Macho and Rabbit were still frenzied in the wind, keeping them out. Dragon C and I was out of commission, was free to attack the other tower. In one last ditch of hope and what strength I had left, I reached out and drug Ant, Bee, Macho, and Rabbit back in to see what was safe, what we were all doing. His flame shot out of the portholes and into the other tower's portholes. All the lower widgets gathered together, ready to attack the intruder in the other tower. How could I ever find a friend and not be lonely? I was determined to fight the dragon off, do better to improve my lot, to not be lonely and frantic, and to maybe befriend the intruder with a sack, even if he was scary-looking. I was weakening very rapidly. Guru was our only hope. His reasoning could save us from the horror of the mind, to tell us what to do. He was poring over his book of memory of customs to see what the creature with the sack was. Suddenly he turned and said,
This is called Halloween night. Children dress up as evil spirits and go from house to house saying trick or treat, and they are then given candy. It's all in fun.
Cuddles
Children,
said.
mere children.
This gave me direction. Ant and Bee perked up. In fun, I thought. and I leaped to my feet in a last-ditch effort. In a huge roar, I uttered a blast of sound. Stop! Like a roar of thunder after a bolt of lightning, my voice had broken the chaos. All the bad widgets stopped. Dragon froze, just long enough for all my pets to go into action. I have free will, I said. I choose to have fun. Turtle, grab Rabbit's tail. Keep him calm. Cuddles, keep Macho calm with love. And Ant and Bee, clear out all these cobwebs. With all my pets back, and in a burst of hope, I grabbed Dungeon by the tail, slung him back into his dungeon. All the evil widgets followed Dragon back down the hole as my tower widgets helped usher them out. Ant and Bee flew to the other tower. I tell you the story they brought back. The other tower was in shambles. Widgets lying on the ground, Ant and Bee caught in the web, Mancho fainted from fright, Cuddles crying. What a noble effort on their part to not let chaos rule. Our Cuddles, seeing their Cuddles crying, became very sad and asked our Guru how to help her feel better.
Apologize for scaring them by giving them a treat. Show them we will not trick them.
All my good widgets above ran to the portholes and began to cheer and thank the other widgets for staying calm. A miracle happened. My chains of loneliness broke as their Mr. Do appeared in front of me. He had a sack and I had a candy and placed it in the sack. For a moment I was free and not lonely. All our widgets cheered and danced around us with glee. Trick or treat is our choice in life, and others reassure us all by asking us trick or treat on Halloween. What an exhausting but exhilarating experience. No wonder we suffer through it each year.
Psychotoons.net.blogspot.com. Change your personality. Change me, myself, and I, and situations. Get power. Psychotoons. Psychotoons.blogspot.com. Psychotoons. Take the test. See you there.